Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now, today's episode, we're going with a classic 101 video, this time focusing on cashback credit cards. So in this episode, we will break down, what is a cashback credit card? What is it, the difference between other rewards cards? How do they work? Of course, the types of credit cards, some things you should be aware of, and of course, how to build the best cashback setup in the game if you are, in fact, Team Cashback. So, of course, if that sounds interesting to you, go ahead, press the subscribe button, and let's get to work. Now, right off the bat here, you normally when it comes to credit cards, we're all after the rewards earning credit cards. And rewards earning credit cards kind of break down into two lanes. You can be Team Cashback or Team Travel. Now, I have a full video on travel cards down below that I will link for you. But, functionally, they work the exact same way. It's still like credit cards, so if you're used to how credit cards work, you're good to go. The difference is, travel cards obviously focused more on travel. You'll see a lot of, Hiltons or Deltas or United cards, right? Co-branded cards focused on things like, purchase of airline tickets, hotels, things like that. They'll have other perks, with, check bags and things like that. But with cashback cards, they're primarily going to be on like everyday type spend categories. And we'll give you some examples as we go. But with cashback cards, there's a few things to know right now. The major issues, I'll offer them. But, it's funny because when we talk about rewards, points, earnings, there's some terms that we end up using interchangeably that can kind of be confusing. So, yes, these cards are going to earn cashback. And what we mean by earning cashback is that, if you're going to earn, 2% back or 2x back on the purchase that you make, instead of earning like United miles or Hyatt points or something like that, you're earning cash back, or sometimes it's called points, and then you can usually redeem those for like statement credits or, into a bank account, cash, if you will. The thing again here to know is that a lot of these terms are used interchangeably. So, for example, if you look at, Chase, sometimes, they say this card earns points or this card earns cash back, even though all the cards earn ultimate reward points, and then how you redeem it, it dictates basically what it's worth, cash or points, and we'll talk about redemptions in a bit. Now, other thing to be aware of, things that we overlap in addition to cashback or points, is also how it's dictated out. So if you take a look at it, most cashback is written out as like 2%, 3%, 4%, and most points earnings cards are written out as 3x, 4x, 5x. But again, we do use this interchangeably, but either way, the math comes out the same because that's the multiplier that we're talking about. Now, another thing with cashback cards is more often than not, they're popular because they do not have annual fees. However, some do, so if you think about the Amex Blue Cash Preferred, that's a cashback card, but it does have a $95 annual fee. But many of other cards that we're going to highlight today, Chase Freedom Unlimited, Citi Custom Cash, Double Cash, things like that are no annual fee cards. Now, that's a good thing because there's no annual fee and they're really easy to use, affordable as a result. The potential downside is you're going to see far less benefits on cashback cards, additional benefits, that is, outside of the multipliers that they have. So again, we touched on this a little bit earlier, but travel cards, it's not uncommon to, even for a $95 annual fee travel card to get, check bag or priority boarding or things like that, because, that's, helped subsidized by the annual fee that you're paying. However, with cashback, of course, there's no annual fee for most of them, but we are starting to see benefits increase, and a lot of this is coming through, Visa and MasterCard bringing on benefits that the card issuers end up taking. I've got separate videos on that I can put down below for you. But for example, MasterCard World Elite cards, they tend to offer a level of cell phone coverage, right, that, some of these issuers are taking along with them. So, as a result, you can have a no annual fee card, like the Wells Fargo Active Cash, for example, and have, a level of cell phone coverage. Same with the Freedom Flex, you get cell phone coverage on that. So you're looking at benefits like that. Some good stuff worth knowing about, but definitely nothing to, the extent of your travel card counterparts here. So that's basically how they work. Again, they're the exact same thing, just kind of focused at a different demographic, if you will. But with that, let's take a look at some examples, because when it comes to cashback, there are maybe like 4 different types of cashback category cards that I would categorize, and things that you should know, because that's going to dictate the card you get and how you use them. So let's start out and we'll take a look at the first one, which I'm calling like the catch-all or the everything else card. So when you have, an everything else or a catch-all card, really we're talking about a card that's a standard multiplier on all purchases, and it's not going to be category specific. So as a result, the table minimum we're looking for is 2% back or 2x on all purchases. So an example like this would be the Citi Double Cash or the Wells Fargo Active Cash. Again, both of those cards have no annual fee. Both of those cards are going to get you 2% back on all purchases that you make. And the value of these cards is, one, they're very easy to use for folks who maybe don't want to get this deep into the game, right? They just want one credit card, standard points earnings, and not have to worry about where do I use this card, where do I use that card, right? And so everyone should really have one of these cards, these catch-all cards, right? Because that would be, the card you default to as your highest multiplier if you don't have a specific category that we'll talk about in a second. But with that, we move on to the next type of cashback card, which is what I'm calling like a fixed category, fixed multiplier card. So with these fixed category cards, they have a list of multipliers and categories that do not change, right? You don't have to play any guessing games, but it's not going to be a flat 2% back on everything. It's going to be category specific. Now, these cards are often categorized based on the highest multiplier. So, for example, a card would be considered a dining card if you maybe got 4x back on dining purchases, because that could be the highest multiplier on it. So a really good example here is the US Bank Altitude Go card. You can see the multipliers here. This is a no annual fee card. It is 4x on dining, 2 back on grocery stores, streaming, gas stations, and 1x back on everything else. So as a result, I would strongly categorize the Altitude Go card as a dining card because, again, that's its highest multiplier. So that's fixed rate cards. Now, we have one of my favorite cards. It's one of the more polarizing out there, but this is the rotating quarterly category card. So with the rotating quarterly category cards, it's in the name, right? The categories change periodically. That cadence is oftentimes quarterly. The highest multiplier is usually going to be associated with that highlighted categories. Now, these cards do end up having spend caps, is how much you can spend in each category each quarter. Well, you can spend more, I should say, but you'll stop getting the high multiplier applied to it after a certain dollar amount. So you often get 2 to 3 options for categories. And again, we have the spend caps are combined total purchases, right? So for example, the Chase Freedom Flex is a very popular one. That one states you can earn 5x and up to $1,500 in spend per quarter in combined category purchases. So, Chase will publish their quarterly calendar. And then, your categories may be like gas stations and drugstores or something like that. So you could spend $1,000, at gas stations and $500 at drugstores. That combined is $1,500. And the multiplier you get here is going to be 5%. So that $1,500 in combined purchases, you get 5% back. Everything else after that would just default to the 1%. Discover It card, Discover It Cash card is also another good example of a category card as well. Those are probably your 2 most popular ones. Now, these are kind of a love-hate. Personally, I like them because you can get 5% back. Other folks don't love them as much because of the rotating categories, and it does make you guess sometimes. But I still think they're valuable and worth checking out. So we have one more to talk about, and this is kind of what I'm calling the Choose Your Own Adventure card. So with the Choose Your Own Adventure card, this is kind of a card that has a list of potential categories that earn high multipliers. They often have spend caps per category as well. So there's a few examples here. So the cardholder must select the categories from a list. So like the US Bank Cash Plus card. US Bank Cash Plus card gives you a list of categories, and then you can choose 2 to earn like 5% in each quarter up to a certain amount. And I think you can also have a 2% category as well. So you have to go in and select those categories each quarter, and the list does not really change. Every so often they may add someone or take someone out, but for the most part the list doesn't change. Now the other one you have is like the Citi Custom Cash, which is one of my favorite cashback cards. With the Citi Custom Cash, they have a wide list of categories as well that could qualify. And then what Citi does is they say they want you to use your custom cash just all the time, everywhere. At the end of the month, Citi will tally everything up that you spent in the category that you spent the most in. So maybe it's gas stations. They will award 5% back on all your gas station spend up to, I think, $500 a month. Then everything else would default to 1% back. So there's 2 types of Choose Your Own Adventure cards there. Of course, with these cards, it's always highly recommended to go in and say, with the Citi Custom Cash, I'm only going to use this at gas stations, this month, right? And that'll get me the high gas multiplier versus just, using it all over the place and letting Citi decide. You could do that, but again, you kind of see the theme here. You'd want to use, your 5% card at gas stations and maybe your active cash everywhere else for 2%, and you'd be doing better. So those are basically our types of cashback cards. Now, now that you know how to earn the cashback, well, what do you do with it, right? Well, let's talk about redemptions here, right? So again, you do have a wide range of redemptions, but they're not all created equal. So we're not talking anything issuer specific here, but just in general, these are the redemptions that you're going to see. So statement credits deposited into a bank account with the issuer, or sometimes you can even ACH to an external account. Those three right there are going to be your primary cashback options, because this is going to get you the 1 cent per point. That's the kind of the table minimum for redemptions. Now, you also have usually options for buying gift cards, buying merchandise, travel, and even donations. Those redemptions get tricky because, again, it's on a per issuer basis depending on what kind of portal those guys use, and more often than not, those redemptions do not track well value-wise or redemptions-wise. You're usually looking at much less than 1 cent per point. I've got a video on how to do the math to figure out what you're getting points redemptions-wise. I'll put down below for you as well. But I would stick, if you're playing Team Cashback, I would really stick with any one of those three. Up front, statement credit, super easy to do. Most issuers, again, because they are banks, do let you deposit into an account with them, but you don't always have to, so that's just one of those things you have to check depending on who your issuer is. Now, getting close to the end here, though, two more things. I want to talk about things you should be aware of when it comes to redemptions, and then how to, build the best cashback strategy here. So when it comes to redemptions and being aware of things, we just talked about one. Number one is the value that you're getting. Again, with those cashback options, you should be able to get 1 cent per point redeeming for cashback. Anything else, I really don't think it's worth buying gift cards unless they're offering like a sale on gift cards, like 20% off. That does happen sometimes. But more often than not, you would be much better just buying the thing with your credit card, earning the points, and then redeeming for a statement credit that way. The other thing is really annoying. One of the things I hate the most about this game is some issuers have minimum redemptions, right? They have minimum redemptions, meaning that, hey, like US Bank, I know this because I have a US Bank card, and you can redeem in minimum of $25, or increments of $25. Meaning that, if you have like $22 worth of points, can't do anything with it. It has to be 25, and then they have you do it in increments of 25, which is very annoying because then you end up with cash back just stuck over there that you can't really access conveniently until you spend more and get the balance up there. That is very annoying. Not every issuer does this. Again, just one of those things to kind of spot check. Now, the other one here to be aware of is points expirations, right? So sometimes you see this a lot with smaller to mid-sized issuers. Sometimes points expire. This is true for cashback and points for travel, but sometimes there's an expiration date on them. It might be 5 years after earning, 2 years after earning, something like that. It'll be in the terms and conditions in the reward section. That's another thing I hate. Again, as long as your account's open, I don't think your points should ever expire, but those are a few things to watch out for. Now, final thoughts here on actually making a cashback setup. There's different ways to attack it depending on how aggressive and how much earnings you want. Obviously, the best one here is for everyone to at least start with, a catch-all card, a 2% card, because again, that is our table minimum. And then from there, I think you can go a few different ways. You can either look at, the categories that you spend the most in, and, try to find cards that match that. So again, the cards we've talked about here, the Altitude Go is going to be a fantastic option if you like to go out to restaurants and things like that. 4%. However, you can go, you do that, then you might end up with a few cards. Not everyone likes to have a ton of cards, but if you really don't care, you want maximum value, then I try to build out a 5% everything setup. Now, unfortunately, the downside is it's going to take a lot of category cards to do, because those are the cards that end up giving you 5%. But over time, you can, build out, your Custom Cash, your Freedom Flex, your Discovery Cash, your US Bank Cash Plus, things like that. The Amazon Rewards card, right? Those are 5% cards right there. And as long as you're fine, paying attention to the category game and moving around your spend, perhaps even bringing in some gift card strategies where you go buy gift cards at the place that's 5%, then use that gift card, at the real store. Like maybe it's grocery stores, it's 5%, so buy your Best Buy gift card at the grocery store, then go redeem it at Best Buy. Of course, we have videos for all these things, down below, but again, just for the 101, those are kind of like your 3 tiers of building out cashback, really depending on how much work you want to put into it. It's really not even that much work, it's probably the wrong way to describe it, but how much effort you want to put into it, and how much rewards you're looking to get. So anyways, guys, that's going to going to do it for our cashback cards. If you liked it, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, of course, consider subscribing to the channel. We're posting content just like this every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Of course, right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that was in credit and finance. My question for you guys is let me know what some of your favorite cashback cards in the game are and how do you go about constructing your cashback setup. Love to hear how many cards you guys going and how much 5% you guys are getting out there. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this one. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.